M. Moorish American N. National H. Ali W. E. The week January 8th through 15th is hereby declared into worldwide lawful recognition, the duly redeemed Moorish American peoples, as one free nation of the Greek God. January 8th, 1886 is Noble Drew Ali's day of birth. On January 8th, 1886, the world's last adeptive, a long line of holy prophets and archangels, would be born in the state of North Carolina and named Timothy Drew. By the age of 25 he would be nationally known as Noble Drew Ali Moorish Holy Quran MHK 2, 26 to 28, yet internationally known as El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Like all major prophets before him, Noble Drew Ali was not only prophesied reverend, sent since olden times, but he became the divine answer to hundreds millions of prayers. Timothy Drew was prophetically born amongst his Moorish American nationals whom were still laboring under the slave names of Negroes, blacks and colored peoples, Surah 1636. All prophets are manifested on earth to perform the same universal duty, to save nations from the wrath of the great God. Every nation whom have suffered this divine anger were punished because they did not honor the creed and principles of their forefathers and strayed away from the straight way of universal truth. These acts alone left the transgressors susceptible to filling their hearts and minds with limited thoughts of sin and crimes. Noble Drew Ali, although born in the West, United States of America, was sent to enforce the course of justice upon the violators of a universal divine covenant. At the young age of 16, without parents, custodial escorts or government deployment, Timothy Drew found himself amidst the masterminds of Egypt. In the ancient halls of Kemet he remained a student of the adepts for the next 8 years before completing his pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Known then as Sharif Ali, he was fully ordained to do for his Moorish peoples in America everything that other prophets, from Adam to Muhammad, had performed for their especial nation. It has been a custom for all major prophet of the cycle ages to either visit Kemet or in commission adept master, an angel would bring the instructions to him, for the becoming of a major prophet, holy angel, adept mastermind or divine minister of the great God. It is very important to note, no one, before or since the advent of Drew Ali, has ever brought to the Moorish peoples, whom has been enslaved in the Americas, everything it takes to save a nation. Still, it is solely contingent upon the redeemed people to take the maximums of these delivered truths in order to free themselves as one nation. And like other saviors e.g., Yehoshua, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha and Confucius, Drew Ali was born within lawful European slave camps among those he was ordained to save. There he would also find the most complacent, stiff-necked oppression and greatest doubters would be those of his natural descendants. To this day, with the exception of a few Moorish Americans, only a handful has faith enough in the great God of their forefathers to know the Moorish are worth saving. Nevertheless, because his people had fallen down to the lowest depths of wretchedness into a nationless status of property, straw men and de facto citizenry, the last prophet has but one duty to perform. Still, to this day January 8 marks the beginning of the greatest Moorish Holy Week to observance of divine and national freedom in the history of the Western Hemisphere. Indeed, Ali is the last avatar, a perfected being who was born under an extended slave status and jurisdiction of the United States 14th and 15th Amendments. Because the great God of our forefathers showed his mercy and saving power upon the descendants of the ancient Moabites, in the prophetdom of Drew Ali, the Moorish Americans now welcome all nations of the earth in our celebrations of this, the first day, of the Moorish American Holy Week. January 8th is the day of divine salvation for the Moorish Americans. January 15th is the day of national emancipation for all Moorish peoples filled up pointing triangle. January 15, 1865 U.S. Congress abolished slavery. Now we, the Moorish Americans in our own new era of time and freedom, Hereby declare this great day, the Moorish New Year. On January 15, 1865, the United States Congress ratified into her laws, 2 of the 2020 sections of the proposed 13th Amendment. It only took one of these two sections to abolish its 86 years of constitutional slavery. Also, effective on January 15, 1926, Noble Drew Ali wrote ACT 6, a bylaw to the divine constitution for his Moorish American nation. In this bylaw he declared the freedom of his people by bringing in, "This is a new era of time now whereas the Moorish must proclaim our nationality before their theocratic government, the only true state in which we can live, and in order to link ourselves to and to be recognized by the nations of the earth. Now Moorish sovereign citizens can now take their place in the affairs of free men. The Moorish are not Negroes, black folks nor colored people NBC, because these names were given to slaves, by slaveholders Western Freemasons, in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. These two events affects many reasons the Moorish Americans make January 15th the Moorish New Year. The Moorish use the 15th day as the day of their national salvation and the 8th as their divine salvation to showcase their year-round divine and national movement. Drew Ali taught the Moorish, from 1779 to 1865 was during the time of constitutional slavery. All descendants of the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa should be ever mindful of those lawful days. Because the United States Constitution, 3/5 clause, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the new United States and her friendly slave capital of the West African slave trade, the Kingdom of Morocco. Also, remember the Amistad case, the Dru Scott decision and the Emancipation Proclamation was all written between these two dates. There were no documents, decisions or laws written, during this period, to authorize anything except the enslavements of African peoples. Contrary to publicly assumed belief, the 13th Amendment did abolish the lawful system of slavery in the USA, except for those duly convicted of a crime, but could not free one of the millions of West African nationals. Slaves are powerless, as chattel, do not have flags and do not write national constitutions nor sign treaties. True freedom must be aggressively sought, through self-determination, then restored and protected by the former sufferers. This abolishment brought a lawful end to the USA institutions of slavery, the Masonic slaveholders whom named their slave property, Negro, black and colored, NBC. Among these denationalized NBC only the Moorish Americans are proclaiming their free national name before their Moorish government in which they live. Their theocratic government is the only secessionist status in which the Moorish truly lives in freedom. January 15th is the celebration of the Moorish New Year in remembrances of their self-determination and freedom from USA slavery, which the Moorish glorify their reattachment to the human family of nations. They all say, all praises. January 15th is the day of the great earthly salvation for the Moorish Americans. Filled up pointing triangle. A few things free Moorish nationals need to know. Americans are a free, sovereign and independent nation of people. They are not Negroes, black people, colored folks nor any other form of Afro-American chattel, property or denationalized slaves. We are now linking ourselves with human family of nations. When other nations see the Moorish they see a people of principles. Namely their five-pointed open green star which represents love, truth, peace, freedom and justice. The Moorish are direct manifest to their great God, Allah also known as divine love. The return of the Moorish is a new era and the return of peace on earth. Today every nation is seeking peace but only through the Moorish freedom shall this peace be obtained. During the Moorish American Holy Week we observe peace at all cost. Further, the Moorish Americans do not commercialize their days of celebration because freedom is not for sale. Neither does the Moorish welcome their New Year solace with gunfire, explosions and other weaponry designed to destroy life. Fasting, prayer and meditation upon knowledge of the God Self highlights the Moorish American Holy Day week of January 8 through 15. The Moorish Americans, as a newly redeemed nation, are the true descendants and secessionists of the ancient Moabites, the first God people to adorn human form on earth. All Moorish powers rest within the sovereignty of their government, one nation, bearing our one free national name within the peace of their society. The Moorish American nation is not a group, order nor organization because non-governmental organizations, NGOs, cannot be a nation. The Moorish need to learn to love instead of hate. The more they become themselves, God's is love, the greater the force they will be. Thereby knowing and being the clean and pure nation which they are ordained to be. They need to learn to honor the Moorish flag. Our flag is not the fallowed flag of Morocco because it was used to enslave the Moors of West Africa. The 5 points do not represent the West African slave trade, as were used by Morocco from 1492 until 1905. Our flag belongs to the same free Moorish gods today as our forefathers lived 100,000 years ago. We now have the Moorish American national anthem. Now we are prepared to issue treaties to the coming allies recognizing our nation state. Do not expect the courts and laws of those who have enslaved you to also free you as a people. No government on earth can be found in the courts of another government. The Moorish Americans will only witness their true redemption by claiming their one free national name. Make your days longer by living the true life, the only life worthy of praise and thanksgiving. We now declare the Moorish American Holy Week because it is lawfully our own to claim. We, the Moorish Americans, honor all prophets, nations and religions of the earth. We ask all true citizens to help us in our gigantic missionary work of uplifting fallen humanity. Peace and love divine to all. Dr. Serapis Amen Ra'el, National Grand Sheikh Dr. Akhenaten Ferd MHRU Tutankhamun Bey, Grand National Chairman Dr. Shahid Amani Al Mohadi, Zishabaz El, National Assistant Grand Sheikh.